You're listening to the Live Out Loud podcast with River Wynn and Michelle Flamer.
Welcome back to the Live Out Loud tonight. I'm Michelle, as you guys know, and River is not with us tonight. She stayed a little bit longer in Portland, and then, of course, today she gets her kids back as a solo mom does. I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have tonight. Our theme is one that I feel touches every single one of us at some point in life. Big changes. The kind of changes that ask us to step outside of the safe, the familiar, and the comfortable. And instead, you guys know, leaning into courage, trust, and possibilities. My guest tonight is my dear friend Renee Sutton. Renee knows what it means to make a leap. People are fascinated when they hear her story about how she actually dropped everything and moved to Mexico. But I'm not going to give you any more peeps into that. She will tell us the story. And while that might sound adventurous or even glamorous from the outside, the truth is that kind of decision takes an enormous amount of vulnerability, faith, and courage. She's one of the bravest humans I know. So tonight we're going to talk about fear, about listening to that inner whisper that tells you it's time, and about what really happens when you allow yourself to leap into the unknown. My hope is that this conversation inspires you to reflect on your own life, to ask yourself, what's the change that's whispering to you right now, to me right now, rather, because you're talking to yourself. And what would it look like to trust myself enough to take it? So let's get started. Renee, welcome to your first Live Out
Mm.
Loud.
Michelle, what an intro. I really hope that I can support this conversation in the ways that you're expecting me to after that kind of an intro.
I know you well enough. We've known each other for like 2 years, and I'm getting to know you more because of this journey you're on right now. And you've kind of, called in the troops, and you have your front row basically on this journey with you. So I think it's like, take us back to the beginning, and also before you start that, tell the Pod Squad a little bit about you.
Okay, how far back do you want me to take it? Previous
However
life
far back you
back,
want to go.
back to
There's
childhood?
plenty of time here. So whatever you want to do, you're not rushed.
All right. Well, I'm so happy to be here with you, first of all. I love listening to your show. You and River have an amazing dynamic, and it's really gotten me through quite a long drive recently. So, thanks for letting me join in the fun.
Appreciate
I
being
have
here.
had I've had an interesting life. Yeah, I think that my childhood trauma, coupled with my desire to caretake, has landed me in some interesting relationships. And not all of them good, right? I've had some wonderful relationships that just didn't work out. And I have some wonderful friends and family that I keep in my front row, right? Not all of our family members stay. So I've had to make some hard decisions over my lifetime and just go by the beat of my own drummer sometimes. And that's meant that I've lived in 15 states and
Wow.
2 countries happily, not because I was a military brat, as people ask me often, but because I really was looking for the place that calls me home.
Hmm.
It's taken me to my mid 40s to really figure out that home is inside. So I was
Mhm.
searching for a long time.
Hmm.
So yeah, the Mexico trip. I
Yeah,
had
it's fun. It is funny because I've heard it a couple of times now, right? Because we're in a group on Zoom, and I was watching everybody's faces, and they were just kind of like, people I think just are mesmerized, because I think as growing up in America, and you dream of, like, you know living elsewhere, but you don't know a lot of people who sort of just pick up and go, like you said. Like, it wasn't for a job. It was literally a personal choice you made.
Yeah. It was. Pandemic did a number on us, I feel like. And for me, it was a time of growth and figuring out what it was I wanted for my life. And it was a time of education and learning. I ended up at 40 getting my university degree. Very proud of myself for that. But I thought, gosh, everyone's losing their jobs. Maybe I should have a backup plan.
So we're talking about the moving to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That was a fun
that's where,
experiment.
yeah, that's a fun experiment. Okay, now, and I know like everybody can hear you talk a little bit now. And I think it's kind of funny because we were internet friends first, and you were in this relationship when I met you. And I thought you would have had a Spanish accent.
Of course. Right. Because I'm very much a gringa living in Mexico. I don't look like I'm from Mexico at all, which doesn't
Right.
mean that I don't sound like it, right? But in my
Right.
mind, I thought, I wonder how she could have confused that.
But I think, but because I've traveled to Mexico City, I have seen Mexicans and Spanish people look just like you there. You know what I mean? So it's just so freaking funny to me that, yeah, I was like, you need to send me a voice clip because for whatever reason, I really think you're like Spanish speaking. And it
And
was,
I obliged.
I
And you
know
said I sounded like I
someone
was
from like
from the
Texas. Yeah,
from the
from the
South.
South. Yeah, because I was like, you sounded so like hickish to me at that because my brain was trying to compute what the hell it was trying to listen to. So it's so funny. Okay, so you make this or it was around COVID
Yeah.
and then tell that.
It was around COVID. I was just trying to make sure that I had my backup plans. I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure when everything started up again, which I was hopeful about, that not only would my clients come back to me, but that I would have something to support my resume so that I didn't have to ever worry about that situation happening again. And
Mhm.
I had a degree in something not related to the industry that I was working in. And I decided to get my business management degree.
Mm.
So, of course, that was the perfect time. High stress, no one to help me watch a toddler. I'm going to finish my university degree. Seemed like perfect timing to really throw myself into the deep end, into the Shark Tank.
Yep.
But I did it. And I was completely single at the time. I wasn't dating. That was just not in my orbit in
Yep.
those moments. I really wanted to focus on myself and my healing and my trajectory.
How old was your son at that point?
He was 3,
Oh God, so cute.
treacherous threes.
Wow, that's a lot. You took on a lot. Okay. So how
Yeah,
long and so then tell me more about living down there and your experience.
right. Well, as soon as they let up pandemic lockdowns,
Hmm.
I said, I'm going to move to New Hampshire. That was the original plan. I'm going to move to New Hampshire. I was living in southern Arizona and I thought, I'm getting out of here. Everything here can kill you. This is not fun for me. As the toddler is bringing me white scorpions that can paralyze you. And we did. We hopped in a Penske with my car towing behind it. And we moved all of our personal belongings to New Hampshire. And I stayed there for about a month and a half and traveled around a little bit. And I thought, he is so good at this. My son is so good at traveling. I'm going to take advantage of this. Things had started up again. So my client called me back and said, hey, we want to resume our contract, which was fantastic news because now I had actual money again.
Yep.
And I was looking into Portugal. But to get a Portugal visa, it takes a little bit longer. It's more
Mhm.
intense. To go to Mexico, you can just go on your passport, your US passport, and you can stay for, quite a length of time, 6 months.
Wow.
So that was the original plan. I'm going to
Mhm.
stay down here. We left during fall. I'm going to stay down here until it hits summertime. And then I'm getting the heck out of here because it's hotter than Hades. I don't want to spend my summer in Yucatan. but I got down there and everything changed.
Mm.
When I say I never felt an energetic shift the way I did when I stepped off that plane, I can't tell you how good that made me feel.
Mm.
Coming from a country where I've experienced all of my trauma, all of my heartbreak, all of my highs and lows, very lows, I felt like like all this weight was lifted off my shoulders.
Yeah.
It's really hard to describe it, but I felt lighter. I felt welcomed.
Mm.
And of course, there was fear. There was a huge amount of fear because I did not know how to speak Spanish. I knew very limited
It just
colors and
still
numbers.
baffles, it just blows my mind away when you say that again. It's like, I mean, but immersion is like, it is a great way to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I went down there with an Airbnb hooked up, and that was it. I had no friends, no family, did not understand the monetary system very well. I did as much research as I could before I got there. I got connected with some expat groups on Facebook, but I did not know what I was getting myself into, not really.
Now, how far were you from like where, what area were you in?
So I was on the Gulf Coast side
Mm-hmm.
in a city called Merida.
Merida. Okay.
Yeah. They call it the White City. It's
Mm.
huge. It's well over 1 million population
Wow.
there. It's a very
Okay.
big city, but it's not super touristy.
Mm.
So you don't get the same effect as when you go to, say, Cancun, where people speak English because that's where the money is, right?
Right.
With the
Right.
resorts. It's not like that there.
So you have the beach, you have the
Mhm.
beautiful, and it's quieter. Maybe we shouldn't tell people, we shouldn't have told people where it was. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Merida. Now
Oh
you're going to
no,
maybe get new visitors, which is fine. I mean, we want tourists to go there and let's go spend money there. It sounds like a beautiful place.
gentrification incoming.
Oh God,
They've
no.
they've experienced quite a bit of that, but yeah, it's 20 minutes from the beach
Mm.
and it's such a welcoming culture.
So
I
no,
yeah,
no,
I
keep, no, yeah, keep
I
telling.
got I got there and the only thing I remember thinking that was negative was I probably won't be able to put on my jeans here because it is so hot and humid. I don't think I can get jeans on. Really,
Yeah.
that's the only bad thought I had.
Wow. That's really crazy. When you were like figuring out and you wanted to go back down there, did this moment come up for you where it was like, what will people think? Like, did you ever struggle with like what other people thought about you moving down there? Because most Americans are like, they're weirded out about just moving to even another country. Like, there's a lot of us who think about
Yeah.
wanting to do it, but actually putting that into motion and doing it is another thing.
Yeah, no, I never worried about what anybody thought. And if you know me well, you probably can already assume that I don't care.
I love that.
It's it's my life, it's my son. I'm a parent by choice, so he had a donor. I didn't have to worry about asking anybody for permission.
Mm-hmm.
And the people in my life who are my people
Hmm.
supported me.
Yeah, I love
Um, I do have to say though, my sister did not know where it was located, and in her mind, I might as well have been somewhere in the universe, far away from Earth.
that.
And she
Right.
was very nervous about if we were going to be safe and how far away we were. And I said, "Listen, we're just under Louisiana.
Yeah.
We're just, the Gulf away from Louisiana. That's it." So once I showed her
But
the
you
map,
felt
she was
safe, but
okay.
you did feel safe there.
Yes. So it's actually the safest city in all of North America.
Wow. You did your research.
I did. I
That
did.
doesn't surprise me, Capricorn.
I did some analysis before I, jumped ship, of course. Um, but right, that wasn't really a concern of mine.
Mhm.
So I really didn't think about how other people were going to perceive my life choices until I started getting messages on Facebook when I would post. And I
Mm,
would have people occasionally come in and say, it's so dangerous there, and Mexico's the reason why the US has all these drug problems,
right,
and,
right.
just the naysayers, people who are not educating themselves on the truth of the scenario and had never left the city that they grew up in, right? So people do have a lot of fear. But to combat that, I had way more people come to me and tell me how amazing they thought it was, how they wish they could do something like that in their
Yeah,
life. And I
totally.
had people coming to me asking me how to do that. Please, they wanted to consult with me. Please tell me how you are able to afford this, what kind of job you have. They wanted to know all the details because they wanted to emulate that. And I
Mhm.
had some people go down there. So it's not outside the realm of possibility to shake up your life like that. A little research, a little job change, maybe.
I'm curious, like what was like that little whisper leading you towards Mexico, like that nudge? Because
Mhm.
in my mind, I don't even think of like going south. I always think of like I'll go to Canada and I feel like I can explore up there. Like I don't know if it's because I know I speak Spanglish and I'm not, like maybe it was more of like maybe thinking of a language barrier, but also I think we all get nudges to different places. What was like calling you back down there when you kind of did it before? You know what I mean? Like, hey, maybe I'll
Yeah.
try Canada now. But no, you were still nudged to like go down south.
Right. I ran across this blog about a
Mm.
single mom traveling with her children to different countries, trying to figure out where they wanted to land.
Okay,
And
that's awesome because
yeah,
I actually didn't know this for real. Like I didn't know this part. This is cool. Okay, keep telling.
yeah. I remember reading that and thinking, that's crazy. I don't know.
Hmm.
That sounds really hot. I don't think I would want to live down there full time. And I put that out of my memory because I had read it years prior. But when I decided to actually take the plunge,
Yeah, of
I made a list, of course. I'm sure it was a
course.
spreadsheet, knowing me. I made a list of all of the countries that would be the best option for a single mom. So I had a list of criteria, right?
Yeah,
Inexpensive, you can go on a US passport, safe, good school systems. I just made a list.
yeah.
And it came up in my list in my research, and it jogged my memory back to that blog I had read. And I thought, okay, well, I'll go do that for a little while we're waiting on the visas for Portugal, because I wanted to land in Portugal. I still haven't been to
Mm.
Portugal because, plot twist, I fell in love with Yucatan and I didn't want to go back to the US. I didn't want to leave.
Mm. That is so fascinating. And then, so then what happens next? Because you end up leaving Mexico.
Everyone asked me, why did you go back to the US? Well,
Uh-huh.
for love, of course. Why do
Yep,
we do anything silly? Why
I
do
know.
we do all the wrong things for love?
I know, right? It's so interesting. And like, did, I mean, did it affect the way that you saw the US after a period of time, or were you just like coming back in a love bubble and it was just more about that focus? Or did you notice those, now you've lived down there and now you're living back up, on the East Coast?
I did not come back in a love bubble. I actually came back to the US with a broken heart because leaving Mexico was the hardest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
I cried on the airplane. Gavin cried on the airplane. And I questioned whether I was doing the right thing probably 100 times during that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult when you live in another country and hear your local friends talking about the US. And there are a lot of problems in the US. I know this isn't a political podcast, so we won't get into that too much, but I heard a lot of things that were
Yeah.
very sad to hear about the country, and I agreed with it. So going back to the US was scary, and I experienced reverse culture shock, which is common.
Hmm.
My son experienced it as well. And when we came back, I remember him pulling on my arm and looking up at me with these big brown eyes, asking me why people in the US were so mean.
Mm.
So, a little bit about that. In Mexico, especially in Yucatan, it's a Mayan culture, and they
Yeah.
are the most loving, generous people I've ever encountered. Again, 15 states, right? So I've been all
Yeah.
over the US from coast to coast, and I have not experienced the generosity at that level ever in my life. So even playing on the playground, the first day we went to a playground, my son was so overwhelmed because he didn't speak the language.
Mhm.
And he came to me crying and he said, "Nobody is going to understand me." And I had a friend, I had just met this friend who was from the US, but she married a Mexican. They had a daughter together. She'd been in Mexico for more than 10 years and she taught Spanish.
That's cool.
So she said, "Listen, I'm going to talk to one of the little girls and I bet you they'll play with you." She talked to one of the little girls and they just folded him into their wings and they played. From that point forward, he never had an issue. And that was the first phrase he learned was, "Puedo jugar, por favor." Will you play with me, please?
That is the sweetest.
Yeah,
And I'm curious, like, then you're starting to meet like
kind
other
of.
expats, right? And other,
Yeah.
how were they, the way that they got to, like, they leapt too, obviously, like they took a leap of faith as well to
Mhm.
move down there. Was was it similar to yours? Like, were your stories similar to the other expats?
No, wildly, they were so different.
Yeah,
Everyone
that's
had a different reason. One had escaped an abusive relationship.
mm,
Others were trying to, it was more about ego, I think.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Some just needed to go to a place that was less expensive. They were in retirement and they couldn't afford the US. So everyone had such varying degrees of, reasonings and logic behind why they ended up down there. So I think that was the most fun for me. I didn't hang out with the expat groups as much as I did the locals. And I did that quite specifically so that I could learn about the culture. My child's donor is from Mexico
mm,
and from Jalisco, actually, they are from. And I wanted him to have that culture, that experience, something that I couldn't teach him except from a textbook, right? I mean, I can do all the
mm,
research in the world, but I'm not going to be able to give it to him the way they can give it to him. So that was part of my reasoning for staying, not
mm.
initially for going, but for staying. I thought, wow, this is a really good opportunity, and I need to take this bull by the horns and get over some of my own challenges with, getting around, being able to navigate just simple things that seem so easy in the US, like I'm going to order dinner tonight on this app.
Right.
Except now we have to
Not down
learn all
there.
the right now we have to learn all the names of the food.
That's funny, actually. I love that. So, in leaving, like, you left behind basically these memories, these wonderful experiences, and these lessons learned, in those moments. Like, what's a couple of real takeaways that you still kind of utilize to today? And in this new journey that
Yeah.
you're kind of embarking on?
Right. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that you can feel safe.
Mm,
Safety was a real big challenge for me, always has been in the US, but living in a foreign country, being completely self sufficient, and sometimes feeling a bit isolated, no matter how many people you have around, right? Um, that could have really rocked me, but I felt safer there. And so that taught me that maybe some of that was just inherent to me and it
mm,
wasn't my surroundings.
mhm.
So retraining myself to rely on me, and that's where my
That you're
safety comes
safe
from.
anywhere you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you're like,
Yeah.
when you're tapped into you, that you're safe. And that
Hmm.
means your surroundings are safe too.
Yeah. I think the second biggest lesson was things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah. Okay,
And
say more.
right, right. So a lot of the chatter we hear about other countries and their safety is not accurate.
Hmm.
And I found that
Wait,
the
like
more,
American propaganda, like it just plays
yeah,
into, okay, gotcha. Just making
yep,
sure we're on the same page here.
yeah, we're on the same page. So a lot of what we would hear about don't travel here, don't travel there while we're there vacationing, and in some of these resort areas that they say stay away from, they're so dangerous. And we're
Yeah.
looking around trying to figure out what danger is there here. And
Hmm.
it was always during holidays. And it
Oh.
started me thinking, I wonder if this is planned out to keep the money in the US that they're going to be spending elsewhere, right?
Hmm.
So things aren't always as they seem. You can be safe in other places. And I think one of the third most important thing that I learned was love knows no bounds. And
Mm.
that can go for, intimate relationships, of course, but friendships and people's love for just their neighbors.
Hmm.
I met this wonderful couple at my son's school, and the husband spoke English. He was very excited to meet me because you don't get a lot of English speakers down where I was at. So he got to practice. We made friends very quickly. The wife, a sweetheart, didn't speak English at all and was so patient with me.
That's,
Now, they experienced a horrific few months. She had an accident where she fell down the stairs, broke both her legs. She was completely incapacitated. Then her husband goes on a trip with their daughter and he has an asthma attack and passes away suddenly.
wow.
After all of that happened, it was only probably a month after her husband passed away. I ended up getting really sick. And this is kind of funny because I got dysentery, which, Oregon Trail. But
Like,
so I made it almost 2 years without getting sick in Mexico, but I got really sick. And this woman was on the phone with me asking me what she could do for me. And she sent me food. She made me food and sent it to my house after all of this tragedy had just befallen her household.
wow.
I just don't have any experiences like that in the US. I can't imagine someone being able to pull themselves out of their pain, physical pain, out of their grief, to be able to give in that way to somebody else.
I would like to think, as someone who likes to look at the positive side of things, right? I'm just naturally that way. I would like to think that, I mean, I have experienced kindness here in this here and even in Arizona. Like when I had my double hip replacement, my neighbors were amazing. And I will say, I know that was a special pocket that we were in,
Mm.
but I have to believe that there's just a lot of beauty. Like my friends all talk about sometimes their neighbors and how they close the streets down and how they, open it up in summer and just have like a fun barbecue for all type of thing, potlucks. But I do think it's fewer and far between as these days move on based on like what we don't want to talk about, which is the political climate, but it is part of what the collective is dealing with. And
Mm.
um but I can imagine down where you were that it must have been really beautiful. And when they know that you're trying to learn the language to, I mean, and this kind of goes with relationships and how we see each other as well, because when you have all, you're just leading with heart, you're leading with like your facial expressions, you're leading with, all these wonderful non-verbal cues, for each other until you kind of learn. But I can imagine that their hearts were very warm, it was very, they really cared about you because they genuinely knew you were trying to learn about them and learn their culture and learn that. Like if you translate that in relationships, I mean, it's not far off. It's people learning each other and learning from where they stand, not from where we think they stand,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I would love to think that there are more cases like yours where
Mm-hmm.
people are just that giving and caring and compassionate. I haven't experienced that yet, but I'm
Right.
hoping to find that in my next, excursion here soon.
Yeah.
So let me hop back into the list because
Yeah.
another thing that I learned, one of my lessons, is that if you're living in a foreign country, live as if you were a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, don't live as if you were a foreigner. Live as if you're a
Live like
local.
you live there, right? Like you grew up there.
Right.
I knew what you meant, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a snafu. So I made sure to really listen to the locals when they talked about businesses that maybe catered too much to the foreigners and left them out. I listened when they said tip here, but not there,
Mm.
because I didn't want it to be a case where, and this happens, where the servers are not helping the locals. They're going to the tables where the foreigners are because they know they're going to tip higher, or they're not picking them up from the Uber because they would rather get an expat. So I really listened to that. And, what we want to help. And I think, especially our culture, we want to tip high because we know they're not getting paid a lot, but things are a little different down there. They are getting paid wages. And what we're doing is we're preventing locals from being able to afford their own country. So that was important for me to, live as they're living and not disrupt the balance as much as possible. It's impossible not to, a little bit, right? Like there will be gentrification when we start getting people with more money coming in, but just try to be lighthearted and light-footed,
That
and
makes
learn the
sense.
language.
Yeah.
Learn the language, which I did. When I first got down there, I got a private tutor for my son and I. He went to a local school, so that was interesting. He spent kindergarten in a school that spoke Spanish primarily. They had one class a week where they were teaching the kids English.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because the things they would send home were not age appropriate for English, like not something they would be learning in the States. It was so much more difficult. But, it was Spanish, and he really excelled. Kids' brains are sponges. So that
They
was
really
exciting
are.
to watch. Yeah.
That is cool. So now take us to the place where you are now you're crying leaving Mexico,
Mm.
which probably should have been your first. That maybe should have been an inclination that
Do red flags not mean run faster towards the goal, or?
oh my God. And you don't have to you can share whatever you feel like sharing, but I think it just has to we have to tap in a little bit because of where you sit in this present moment. I think there's some important pieces in that part of your learnings that
Yeah.
that got you to this place.
So I'd like to first preface this by saying, as a type A personality, as a Capricorn, I find myself analyzing things very closely, but not always the right things.
Okay,
So,
well said. Well said.
so while, during pandemic, while I'm really working on myself, I'm working on areas that I think are important, which was my career development, my education, my finances, and not so much my spiritual emotional growth.
Hmm.
So I was single for 4 years, and a year of that was in Mexico. And I thought to myself one day, I'm having the time of my life. I'm visiting all of these wonderful sites. I'm I have the flexibility and the means to do whatever I want right now. I want to experience that with another adult. I love my son very much. He's adorable. He's a great traveler, but he doesn't fill my cup in the ways that adults can fill my cup, right? Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'm going to start dating, and I got on some dating apps, and I, went out with some people that I had met through the expat groups, but so some locals, some foreigners. And one of those said to me, "You need to get on TikTok. TikTok is the lesbian dating app now." And
It's so true.
I shoot
Hashtag
her.
lesbian TikTok.
I shoot her on that. I said, "I am too old to be on TikTok. That's embarrassing. Isn't that for like teenagers?" And she said, "Girl, get on TikTok. Just
Hilarious.
look up some hashtags." And let me tell you, it took me like 0.5 seconds once I got on TikTok. I was like, "Oh yeah, here they are."
That's
Here they all are.
hilarious.
So I ended up meeting somebody. I met a few people. I talked to a few people. I am of the mindset in dating that you should be free to date around. This is the time for exploration. This is the time to really get to know people.
Let's be clear to the listeners. Get your head out of the gutter. She means dating, not sleeping.
Right. Like coffee dating around.
Yeah.
Not,
no, I'm just
or talking.
Yeah. You didn't
Thanks
hoe
for that
around,
clarification.
you just dated. Hoe.
Not that that's a bad thing. I mean,
I know. That was reserved for you.
I think that's fine too.
Goodness. Okay.
However you feel you need to get to know the people in your life. I don't know. I have no judgments here.
Funny.
So I was talking to a few different people.
Yeah.
Going out on some coffee dates. And I'm really big about that too. I don't want to get roped into really long dates. I'd rather have it, 45 minutes to an hour, something small, maybe breakfast, lunch. And ended up really getting roped in by somebody in the US. And I thought, of course, after I get my residency in another country, I'm going to end up falling for somebody that's back in my home country where I don't want to be.
Right.
And I ignored a lot of the red flags. I did. I saw them, but I'm a very compassionate person. And I want to believe that people truly want to change when they say they want to change.
Yeah.
And these have been some hard lessons for me. So I saw the red flags. I watched them go by like train cars, stuck on the road. And I thought, well, she wants to do better, and I'm going to trust that because I've been there. I've been a red flag before. I think we've all thrown some red flags, right? We're not.
Totally. We're human.
We're not perfect, right?
We're having the human experience. That means we get to be toxic and we get to experience toxicity. You know what I mean? It's like whatever the spectrum is.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, it was a very hard decision to move back, and it was only a temporary decision. I don't know what you want to call it at this point. It was, in my mind, an experiment.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and see. Now, I had flown back to the US to be with her in person, and I had taken my son back to the US to meet her. So I met her family. I knew where she lived. I wasn't going into it completely blindly. And it had been almost a year.
Yeah.
So I moved back to the States, and
so you were feeling confident at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was feeling more confident. Looking back, I wasn't 100%. I think I was probably more at like 65% confident. And I kept my bags packed for a long time. So I moved in with this person who I've known for a year, but found out quickly I didn't know her at all.
Wow. It's easy to find the texting and the electronics.
It is. It really is. And this is where my disdain of long distance dating started.
Yep.
Because I feel like they can hide so much for so long.
Yeah.
So it took me about 6 months of living together to learn all of the things that were really unhealthy and very unsafe. And we had gotten a place together, and I asked her to leave. And things were very rocky with that exit. Um, very rocky. I hate to say, but there was some law enforcement that had to get involved to ensure my son and my safety. And she had a lot of work to do and a lot of healing. And I knew at that point that was not something I wanted to be around.
I mean, that must have been really scary for the sake. It's one thing like when you don't have a kid and this goes on, that's like nerve-wracking, but nothing's stopping you from just taking
Mm-hmm.
off. Like now
Right.
you have this beautiful little soul that you are in charge of until he can take himself off into the world, right? And
Yeah.
that just must, that just puts another whole level of anxiety, probably. I'm guessing, like, how did this show up for you in the time? And like, how did you have the strength to just kind of keep pushing forward? Was, within that?
I have grit and determination like no other.
Mhm.
Failure isn't in my vocabulary. I will have my moments where I feel like my world is coming crashing down around me and I can't go on. And I think we all feel like that. I just don't live there.
Mhm.
So I let myself experience that, and then I figure out my next course of action. Um, in the instance where you've got a child that's mixed up in it,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it makes it challenging in two ways. One, because there's a huge amount of guilt in even being in that situation and anyone knowing that you're in that situation. So you try to fix it as long as you possibly can, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to repair.
Mhm.
And when you realize that that's not possible, then there's another wave of guilt because, gosh, you've let this go on for so long, and now you have to make some hard changes and difficult decisions,
Yeah.
and potentially break your child's heart along with your own and someone else's.
Yeah.
So it's about weighing the pros and cons constantly. We're always looking at that. I feel like with our own lives, but really it's another layer when you have a child.
Mhm.
So I try to come at my parenting as if it were me as a child. How would I want my parent to behave and respond in this situation? And
Mm.
then I try to do the best I can, but I'm faulty. I make mistakes. I miss signs. I am a little too diplomatic, maybe sometimes, and too accepting. Um,
What
and
were
you
the
and I have talked
lessons?
about this a lot.
What I know, what were some of the lessons that you learned move from that relationship now? What did you learn from that in order to, you know, carry on?
Well, I would love to say that there were lessons I learned in that relationship, but as you know, I made similar mistakes in the very next one. So maybe,
I was leading us into that.
yeah. So maybe we can talk more about the lessons I'm learning now from the
Yes.
both of those.
Yes. 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 So let's talk about what day it is. Like what number day have you been on the road now? How many days? What is it?
Um,
16?
it's 21 days.
Holy moly, it's 21 days already?
Yeah, 21 days.
21 days.
Not
Okay.
since I've been on the road, since
Right.
no contact.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. 21 days today?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. I'm proud of you.
I'm I'm proud of me too.
Yeah,
There
you
have
should be.
definitely been times. So that wasn't that really we're not talking about that relationship though.
No.
I got into another relationship after that one.
Right.
And at that point in time I thought my lesson is I don't date somebody who I met online.
Right.
I date someone who I know or people I know.
Gotcha. Friend
So I'm at
referrals. People referrals.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So in this case it was a hairdresser referral.
Nice.
And I said, well, I'm not ready to date, I don't think, but my heart was still open. And I think that was one thing that felt different with that relationship, when it ended, I wasn't shut down. I was still very much heart open, wanted to have a good, healthy relationship, still felt ready for
Yeah.
that. And thought to myself, well, if I date somebody who's local, at least I'll be able to see all the things that I
Mm-hmm.
missed, right? So I was connected by the hairdresser to another girl that was in the same town. And I thought, I'll let her come to me. I'll just kind of test the waters. We'll talk, see if there's anything there. I doubt there will be because I don't know who this person is. And we hit it off.
Yeah.
And I fell in love.
Yeah, you did.
We moved in together. Then we moved to another state together. We chose a state to move to and
Mm-hmm.
went house hunting together. And it had
Mm-hmm.
been a year and a half. And certainly there were challenges, a lot of challenges, but we were, in my mind, working through them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then 2 days before we're moving into our forever home,
Right.
she tells me we can't move in with her 2 days before.
Yeah.
After, of course, spending time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears, I say, went into that house because not only did we spend all the time looking for a place, but we spent a month getting it rehabbed and fixed up and painted and cleaned, ready to move into.
Yeah. I just,
All,
I
all the
still just can't
savings
believe
gone.
all that. Yeah, I still can't believe it. It's just in my mind. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
So you
I
you hit the
I think I
road.
was so I was in a state of shock.
Yeah, you
I
were.
kept thinking to myself, this is a nightmare. I'm waking up from this. I was walking around as if I were in a haze. It was the weirdest out of body experience.
How could it not be? I mean, that is like it's just what is it? The rug being pulled out from under
Hmm.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Untimed, fast.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I had, okay, so when we first moved there, we
yeah,
had a 3-month rental. It was just a long enough to get us into a house.
yeah.
And that was ending in like 2 weeks. But if we would have stayed the next 2 weeks, then we would have had to pay for another half a month. So I went to the leasing agent and I said, here's the circumstances, here's what's going on. And she said, if you can be out by the first, which was in 4 days, if you can be out by the first, then I won't charge you anything else other than what
Mm.
you've paid already. You can be, you know, net neutral here.
Yeah.
So I had nowhere to go. All my savings was depleted and pumped into the house,
Yeah.
and there was no reimbursement for that. So I have a job, thank goodness, thank the universe, right? I have employment, good employment, but nowhere to go. And I have 2 dogs and a child. And I thought, this has got to be a joke. I'm on
Mm-hmm.
candid camera. No
You're
one would
punked. You're
leave
being
a
punked.
right. No one is going to leave a child and their ex who they were making end of life plans with an attorney like 3 weeks ago, homeless. No one's going to do that. No one's that cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong. People can be that cruel. So heartbroken, I reached out to my family and friends in a panic, and everyone stepped up for me. They
Mm-hmm.
all did in ways that I could have never imagined.
So great.
I have been so independent since I was 17 years old and moved out of the house for the first time that no one has dared ever offer me assistance with anything. They just know that I've got it handled.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't this time either. What they did was they called my mom and they said to her, we don't want to ask her directly because we don't want to offend her, but we are here if she wants us. And
Aw.
that was the open door that I needed.
Aw. So
So,
how's it been being on the road and traveling?
wow. Well, I am pretty sure that my car is waterproof because I cried the entire way from Maine to Southern Arizona and it's still running. So I think I got a really good brand.
But you guys are having an I mean, you really have made something out of this like journey,
Yeah.
right? Like you have made
Yeah.
these moments with your son, like those have been kind of sweet and magical in a way that you that it kind of takes you. I mean, I can imagine like if it was just Caden and I out on the road, it's like even on a road trip, I feel naturally closer to her because one,
Hmm.
there's more options of stranger danger and I feel way more protective in a way, but also I get the chance to connect with my child in new ways. And I mean,
Yeah.
typically it's like a week, but you're having like a multi-dimensional, kind of, you took a long route. Um, and it's just, it's a very different, your survival, right? It's like, it's
Yeah.
probably a different energy, but I think it feels lighter 21 days later.
It does feel lighter to me too. And I'm glad that you recognize that
Mhm.
because
I can tell
we've done
today was a shift.
we've done a lot of work, you and I.
I know. I
So
know we have. I
let's talk
know.
about that trip. Let's talk about the trip because when I left, I was devastated,
Yes.
heartbroken. I
Yes.
felt like I couldn't breathe. My days were
Mhm.
long, my nights were longer, and I was trying to still make sense of it. And I kept thinking, this something's going to shift. She's going to call me. This isn't, but I cut contact. I knew
Yep.
I needed to. So
Yeah.
initially, I decided I didn't like the way she shifted, how her energy shifted. She became very cold, very demanding, very controlling. And then I started to piece things together that had happened over
Mhm.
the relationship. So I decided to go no contact. And I feel like that was probably where my healing started.
Well, I think, I mean, and River and I have talked about no contact before, and a lot of folks who listen to this are in therapy or they're women who've gone through challenges. And sometimes the only way to get the reprieve of is she going to reach out? Or is he going to reach out? Like whoever, because we have a mixed bag of people that listen, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. But it's like, I think the no contact is so nice at times. I think because you're not looking for anything on the phone. You're not like, because it's not coming because you blocked it. There's like, there's like a breath there. Is that happen for you?
Yeah, now we can talk all day about the chemicals that happen with a
Sure.
relationship ending, right? Like
Yeah.
the dump of chemicals into your
Yes.
body and why
Yep.
that creates that sense of urgency to get all
Yeah.
those good memories back. But at
Stress,
the end of the
cortisol,
day,
all that shit. Yep.
right, but at the end of the day, when you go no contact,
Yeah.
when you're the one that has been, however you want to phrase it, victimized or on the, receiving end,
Yeah.
it's giving yourself permission to focus on you,
You're
to
taking your
protect
power back.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. I'm glad.
And when you have no control over a situation or limited control, and that's how you can control the narrative, I think that's the healthiest way to go.
I agree. I mean, you have to
So,
sometimes.
yeah, so I did that. And I decided right then that I was going to really take a hard look at myself and the areas that I was failing to protect myself and my son through these relationships.
Yeah.
And that means I have to be way more discerning and a lot less forgiving.
Yep.
And understand that while people might be in a rocky place in their own healing journey or not quite ready to hit the ground running into their healing journey, it doesn't mean I need to be there with them.
Correct.
I can wish them well and wish them goodbye.
No, it's true. It is really true. It's
So I've done a lot of listening to podcasts.
mm-hmm.
I've listened to a lot of yours and Rivers. You've sent me a million while I was on my drive. And really, that's what got me through it. Talking about how the drive was, you focus on, you're at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy suddenly. You're
That's
just
right.
knocked off your pyramid.
That's right.
And now I'm worried about where I'm going to eat, where I'm going to sleep,
Yeah.
the basics. So, survival, basic survival. And that's where I was at. But I had these long stretches of 8 to 10 hours in the car driving where I needed something to fill that space and time.
For sure.
I think,
And music doesn't cut
yeah,
it sometimes because any song, like you could have
music is a trigger.
yeah, 8 songs and then that one freaking hits and you're like, motherfucker, I'm about to lose it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I,
it
yeah,
happened. I did
I don't listen to music when I'm in a breakup. It's like, or, going through a really challenging time where it might be triggered. And I love music more than anything, but sometimes it works against you in those moments when,
It does. It
especially if
does.
you've had a relationship that really involves like sending and creating a list, playlist, and you're blending
Oh,
and you're like, I mean, it just makes it even that much harder. So, okay, so I love that you
there
lean
were a lot of
growth.
memories with music for me as well. And it was really hard to listen to. But I think the benefit of being stuck in a car for so long is that I couldn't just get my dopamine fix
Yep.
from social media. I had to sit with myself. I had to go through some of that pain and that
Yeah.
healing. And that's really the only way to get through it is by going through it. You can't avoid it and heal, not properly. I was able to really focus in on the things that were important. And I said to you, send me podcast episodes for my healing journey. And you
That's right.
said, listen to these 1,600 in the order I sent them. And
I
you know what
didn't
I
send
did?
16. I think you said 5 or 6. Like you just wanted.
Yeah, you did.
And I said, why? And I did. I said, listen to these in order because I
Yeah.
wanted to give you an arc of like, where you were that morning and like how it felt like at the healing place. Like even if you could fake it till you make it, just listening to it
Mm-hmm.
and just hearing other people's stories. But yeah, 1600,
I
a little
had
extreme.
I had so many aha moments when I
Yeah.
was listening to those episodes you sent
Oh,
me.
cool.
And and I say 1,600 teasingly, but I did keep asking you for more.
That's right.
I was
I'm
finally
already
at a point.
saving the others for the next, because you have the next chapter of, travel next. And so where have you landed for a beat?
Right. I'm actually staying with my parents.
You're actually
I
in the same state as me.
I am. I'm in Arizona.
That's
I'm
right.
really excited to be able to spend some time with my very good friend Michelle in real life,
I
in the
know we're gonna meet
flesh.
in Sedona. It's gonna be dope,
Yeah,
and I can't wait to hang out with your son too. It'll be fun.
yeah, it's going to be great. And all the dogs.
All the dogs.
I I listened to a lot of podcasts, but I also spoke with my therapist and we were on an emergency rotation, which means she was checking in with me every 2 days
Wow.
just to make sure A, I'm safe,
Yes.
B, I am taking care of myself spiritually, emotionally, physically, remembering to eat, remembering to hydrate, the things that you stop doing for a while, right? When you're in
Yep.
panic mode, and see that I had somewhere to go. Um, so that was really helpful. I feel like I was able to really tap into the pain of that loss instead of trying to placate myself with other things, people or social media or Netflix binging, all the things we do, eating a
Yeah.
bunch of sweets. Everybody has a different vice for when they're in that
Oh,
kind of grief mode.
absolutely. Absolutely. So if you could now speak to your past self, maybe tell us what might like this version right before you continue to leap, because you're leaping again right now, but
Mhm.
like I feel like you're leaping back into like leaping into you right now, which is kind of cool. But
Yeah,
so now what would you tell your older self? How would you speak to her and what would you say?
I would say that she is her family.
Hmm.
I would tell myself that I've got me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessary to look for all of these missing pieces in another person, that I can provide them all to myself. If I can provide them to my son, which I do very successfully, then I can provide them for myself as well. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about a home and a
Mm-hmm.
family, all
Mm-hmm.
the things that I didn't have it wasn't stable for me growing up.
Yeah.
So that's what I was seeking in a relationship.
Yeah, and you're reconnecting with your family along this whole trip, which is really kind of special and in
It's
itself,
so
right?
wild. It's so wild. I'm not an outcast or a black sheep, but I've always just been the one that just floats around and does my own thing and doesn't stay super connected. We still have our connection, right? I know I can call them up and we'll pick up right where we left off,
For
but
sure.
I wanted to live somewhere far away. I wanted to do my own thing. It's like I wanted my separation and independence from them so badly
Hmm.
that I took myself to the opposite side of the US and to another country in order to establish that. But
Yeah.
I can still be independent and have people in my orbit that support me. And I
Well,
think that was something that I didn't think was possible for a while.
yeah, I like that you have started to ask for help and you've asked like you've
Mm-hmm.
become more vulnerable within the people that you feel really safe with. And I think in friendships, and relationships and any kind of, relational situation, even with family or chosen family, it's like there's a point where that asking for help allows us to step up and show up for our beloveds, our friends, our chosen family. And I think it's such a disservice when you don't give us a chance because the funny thing is, the ones who aren't asking for help are the ones who always love giving the help, right?
Yeah.
And so you know how it feels, when you get to fill your cup up helping
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, but yet, so I think it's really lovely that you're allowing us, your collective, your small front row, your collective, meaning it's not thousands and thousands of people, but
Yeah.
the 20 people in your life that you choose to connect with and be vulnerable around. And I really love that because this next phase of your road trip is going to take on another part because one, you're going to be that much further in your healing. It doesn't take away from the pain, the sadness,
Mm-hmm.
the stages of grief and loss, but the two
Yeah.
can exist. You can still see yourself in my opinion, you because I can hear you speaking about it now. Like you've started to the baby steps of like I created my new Pinterest because that means you're starting to vision a little bit. Doesn't mean you're not sad and upset and brokenhearted at times. It just means that there's the space is it's teetering, like the scales
Mm-hmm.
are tipping a little bit. It's not 99% heartbreak any longer and the 1% of I just got to get behind the wheel every day. And then
Yeah.
now it's kind of like, okay, now we're like at 91% of me is still kind of, or whatever the percentages you rank for yourself.
Yeah, honestly, if you let's talk about my percentage.
Yeah,
I'd say it's 60/40.
that's
60% excitement for
that's
my life,
amazing.
40%, letting go and sadness and regret.
I think the reason why you're able to be there in this space because everybody has a different journey and a different trajectory of how long or how short it takes. And in a sense, it really is how you were able, and we talk, and River and I talk about this a lot, like sitting in the messy middle and sitting in the muck and like owning the feelings actually helps you move through the feelings in a faster pace, whatever that pace is. I'm
Hmm.
just saying pace is like,
Yeah.
an empty, like only you can say that pace works for me or doesn't, right? We all set our own pace. Um,
Yeah.
so
It's very situational. It's very
right.
much relative to the person.
Yep.
And I completely agree. We can't outrun our problems.
Nope.
We can't just ignore it and everything feels better, right? We can compartmentalize and we can shove feelings down, but that only lasts so long. And I did not want this to be another instance of that. I didn't want it to resurface in my life at a later point, whether it's, my health or, affecting my health or affecting future relationships or my current relationships with my family and friends. So I decided to sit in that messy middle on purpose. And it's
Mhm.
been incredibly painful, but also incredibly liberating.
Yeah. Now, will you engage the same way the next go round?
Absolutely not,
You can say
because
fuck no. It's okay on here.
fuck no. Well, for one, I have been told all of my future potential partners have to send applications through not only every friend and family member I have,
Correct.
but my
They must
therapist
be
too. So,
vetted. Yes. They must be vetted. Exactly.
all joking aside, though, I've learned more about myself and I've learned more about the similarities of my partners this time around.
Mm.
I've had moments of clarity that I never had before in breakups where I'm starting to see the pattern. Now, these people, surface level, all seem very, very different.
Yeah.
But when you start really digging into it, we're looking at family dynamics, attachment styles, patterns of behavior, and addictions. They're all similar. And it
Wow.
was the first time I recognized that
I
four
love
of
it.
them were almost exactly the same.
That's nuts.
Hmm.
But that just shows you, I mean, that's um, I always say like we continue to go back. So maybe you went back to different people. You didn't necessarily do the lesbian thing, like break up, get back together, break up, get back together. But you in a cosmic and an energetic way, you kind of kept you went back to the same patterns based
Hmm.
on until you were ready to learn the lessons. Like because there's never a judgment around that. It's more about, man, I just didn't see it before. And now that I see it, I can't unsee it. So the good thing is you probably have just now broken what was a really karmic cycle in this particular round in Earth, right? It's like this was the big lesson that you
Hmm.
needed to learn. Like, yay.
You said to me, and this was my epiphany moment, you said to me, your guides were going to send you back into those relationships until you finally got it.
That's it. It came very simple to me all of a sudden. One day when we were talking, I was like, holy shit, because it was that aha. I was like, we were both like, damn, you just freaking
Yeah.
kept repeating the same. It just had a different cute face and it had a different cute haircut. And it was just, they were just dressed, they were just dressed differently, but it was literally
Yeah.
the same type of people, which you just described. So it's so
Yeah.
fascinating. So, what would you tell a couple of listeners, like if they're listening today and they're about to either embark on dating or they're about to embark on a breakup,
Oh,
or
I
they're
love this
looking at
question.
yeah, or they look at these old habits, like what would you impart on them from your experience?
I would say if they're looking into dating, it's okay to take a pause. It's
Mm,
okay to give yourself time to get out of that initial emotional pull
yep,
and sit with yourself for a while. So
yeah,
take it slow. And by slow, I mean real slow. One date a week, make it an hour. Don't do, especially if you're in the queer community, don't do a 48-hour date. As soon as that happens, you're chemically bonded and your logic goes out the window. And there's plenty of podcast episodes Michele can send you if you want to know about that.
Yeah, just just
Right. Take a
ask us on
pause.
the Live Out Loud Instagram page and we can send you podcasts, whatever theme, whatever challenge. I have one standing by.
Yeah, they're all for me right now, but I'm sure that they could
Correct.
apply to everyone else's situations too, because I tend to go through all the issues at once. So,
What else
so
would you impart? Yeah,
right,
what
take
else
a
would you
pause,
share?
really get to know that person
Yeah.
and trust your instincts because let me tell you, those butterflies you think you have, that's anxiety, and that's your body telling you something is off. It is not
So say
excitement.
that part again. Say that last part again.
The butterflies that you think you have
Yeah.
are anxiety, and that
Yeah.
is your warning sign.
It's a good warning sign because people, if you haven't done like a spiritual or healing journey, a lot of times you don't realize, like when you see these memes and quotes coming across, like the butterflies and the sparks, those like
Mm,
sparky sparks are just, like the flags are going off and the
hmm
fireworks are going off, but it's not necessarily for the quiet, gentle love you imagine for yourself. And a
hmm
lot of times people don't recognize the two, like the boring, like, my therapist and other, therapists on social media, like Jillian Turecki or life coach, that, like wellness date expert, Sabrina Zohar, and where they're like, run from the spark.
Yeah.
Like lean into the boring, lean into the calm, lean into where it almost doesn't feel like anywhere, like it's not going anywhere, but like run
hmm
from all the other high ups and downs, that kind of thing.
Your nervous system should
Yeah.
feel regulated after
Yeah.
your interactions. Of course, there's excitement. That's good, that excitement, but it should fill you with warmth and not anxiety. You shouldn't be at a point where you feel like you can't eat. And I think a lot of people experience that. Oh, I'm
And
just,
they think
it's
it's
a
love,
nervous
right?
love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's your
Yeah.
nervous system dysregulated. It's your body telling
So if you're
you this
craving,
isn't right.
if you're craving big meals, go for that. Like I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I
Do
can't
the
wait to
opposite.
eat with this person. Let's go to a buffet. Then
Um,
she's the one.
I love, oh my God. I love that. Well, I really appreciate you taking time on the journey to like join us on Live Out Loud. And gosh, I know everybody right now is just wishing you just a really good second half of your trip up into your next adventure. And we'll just say into the Pacific Northwest. And I'm excited for I mean I get to be a part of it, which is fun because I talk to you, but it'll be exciting for you. So I know all these people will be rooting for you going forward.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be back at my natal start, full circle for me.
Full circle, babes. This is the way it's happening. Anyways, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this episode today, be sure to subscribe and share because what do we say, baby?
Sharing is caring.